Sequels are a hard thing to get right.
If your movie was successful enough and it merited having a sequel, the idea is you gotta top it. It has to be better, or at least more in some way. A sequel, the thing you're going for, is the same but different. What made the first one successful? Was it the stories, the actors, the setting? All those things need to be the same, but it can't be the exact same story. Otherwise you say, oh, it's derivative, it's just the same thing again. So it's a hard thing to pull off. For a sequel to be successful, it needs to be more. Is it bigger? Is it on a grander scale? Is it darker? Is it deeper? Are the characters more complex? So a moreness. It's why so often sequels end up being not as good as the original. It tends to be the trope. You'd say, well, it's good, but it's not as good as the original. But there are some sequels that manage to pull it off, that are more. And I can think of one. For a Few Dollars More is a sequel to a movie called Fistful of Dollars. Fistful of Dollars was one of the first spaghetti westerns. It was made by an Italian director called Sergio Leone and stars Clint Eastwood in his very first film role. It's an incredible western. If you only watch one western in your life, you couldn't go wrong by watching that one. I talk more about Fistful of Dollars in this video that I'm going to point a link to now. It'll be somewhere, right? Like all movie successes, they ended up making a sequel. It was going to be called For a Few Dollars More. So Sergio Leone tries to convince Clint Eastwood to come back and do the sequel. Well, it hadn't even been released in America yet. So Clint was sent an Italian version of Fistful of Dollars. And even though he couldn't understand any of it, because it was in Italian, he saw that there was something special about this movie. So he said, yeah, I'll come and do the sequel.
Clint Eastwood stars in this movie, and my God, he's never looked better. He was about 35 years old when he made this, and the camera just loves him. This guy has so much cool. There is a reason why this guy is a sensation and a movie star, because he just has that charisma.
Coolest guy in the movie. He doesn't need to look at you to still manage to shoot you from behind. He's just, everything about him has so much style and charisma. He is the perfect lead for this movie. Clint Eastwood and how cool he is just ramped up. This is more. Every part of this For a Few Dollars More is more. And Clint Eastwood's cool is even more. He was slick and he was cool and he was unflappable in the first movie, and he does all the same again, but in even more ridiculous scenarios where he just doesn't give a single solitary hoot. Yeah, he's cool.
Thanks.
But here's the thing. Clint isn't the only badass in this movie. Returning as the villain from the previous movie, but he's playing a completely different character, is one of Italy's greatest actors as far as I'm concerned, Gian Maria Volonté. In this movie he plays El Indio, who is completely deranged. I love this performance. It's one of the great villains as far as I'm concerned. Gian Maria Volonté is so charismatic in a despicable way. He's just so cool. He's almost certainly stoned the whole time. The character, not the actor. He's smoking something, and every time he does, he's clearly freaking out a bit. But his evilness is sort of oozing and dripping with just nastiness. Even the way he smokes his cigarettes is interesting. Every choice the actor's making is interesting. His maniacal laughter, his movement, his strange, intense stare. I love Volonté's performance in this movie, and I think he's an incredible villain. One of the things that's very important about his performance and why it's so good in this movie is because Clint is kind of a reluctant good guy. They call it the Dollars trilogy for a reason, because it's all just about money. He plays a bounty killer, and all he cares about is money. This is not about justice or the law or any kind of good, it's about making dollars. So he's not a very good character. So how do you make that struggle against the baddie worthwhile? Well, the baddie is completely psycho. And the third part of the holy trinity of the great actors that make this movie great is none other than the greatest Western cowboy actor of all time, Lee Van Cleef. One of the things that's interesting is Lee Van Cleef wasn't even the first choice for the role. Apparently, Sergio Leone wanted Henry Fonda to play the role initially, partly because of his great history in American westerns, but also because he bore a resemblance to Clint Eastwood, and it would have a kind of father-son dynamic to it. Well, Henry Fonda had never heard of Sergio Leone, he'd never seen Fistful of Dollars, and he was not interested in making some kind of weird spaghetti western. But there was one man that was, and that was Lee Van Cleef. Lee Van Cleef had been in pretty much every kind of western and would continue to make every kind of western long after this. But he was in those classic American ones, usually a heavy, usually a baddie, because of that face and that mustache gave him away. But in this role, he's a goodie, again, about as good as Clint Eastwood. But actually, his character, Colonel Mortimer, has more of a heart. For me, he's the real protagonist of For a Few Dollars More. He's not just interested in the dollars. And without giving too much away, it turns out he was never really interested in dollars in the first place. He had his own motivation. One of the criticisms that you could level at a movie like this is that it doesn't make an awful lot of logical sense the whole way through. Things happen that wouldn't make sense in a logical way. But when I hear things like that, I say, get out of my house. You don't know what the heck you're talking about. And that's because there is a dreamlike logic to the whole thing. It is kind of a weird unreality to all of it. It's heightened. Every single scene in this movie is like a great set piece. And that's part of why I love it so much. That of course you're entering into poker games where the rules are not set and men with half-shaved beards are coming at you from behind. Of course, the person running a hotel opposite another hotel next to a bank are facing each other and run by a dwarf. You know, of course, all these things, they make sense in a dreamlike way. And one of the things that really adds and heightens this whole dreamlike experience of the entire movie is the incredible faces. All the extras. I mean, I mentioned the three main incredible actors doing incredible performances, but just look at any of the faces for any of the extras. Leone cast a lot of gypsies into these side roles. Can I say gypsies now? Just look at any of the faces of the extras. The strange, weird faces. Every single one of them could be a great character to look at now. A lot of the Hollywood machine churns out movies where everyone looks like a movie star. Yeah, hey, we all like looking at good-looking people, but there's a generic beauty that just kind of gets numb. And for a few dollars more, every single person has a face you could stare at, fascinatingly ugly. And I love it. The story is dreamlike and strange, and not all of it makes sense in a logical way, but in a dreamlike way. But there is heart to it as well. The twist, if you can call it a twist, reveal at the end, we'll call it. It adds heart. There is a depth to this. It is not just a cowboy shoot-'em-up. It is psychological. It is strange. It has meaning. And yet, it's still, so much of it functions like a dream. But then, do our dreams have meaning? I'll let you and Dr. Freud think on that. The music in For a Few Dollars More is even better than the music in Fistful of Dollars. The composer is the maestro himself, Ennio Morricone. He made one of the greatest Western scores of all time with the previous one, and he tops it. For a Few Dollars More is such an epic score. Everything is bigger, more bombastic, more slick, more cool. It still has that twangy guitar, but it also introduces the jaw harp. Sometimes a kind of comical sounding instrument, but here it just has that rhythm and the twang and the drone. The other thing that's really important and special about the soundtrack is his use of motifs as characters. The jaw harp is there for every time Lee Van Cleef does something cool. And he does something cool a lot. And you'll hear the sound of the jaw harp. That character is associated with that sound. And we know this right from the very opening sequence when we're seeing through Lee Van Cleef's eyes. We don't know we're seeing through Lee Van Cleef's eyes until we hear the jaw harp. And we hear that jaw harp throughout when we see Lee Van Cleef do anything cool. It's his instrument. Just as the flute is the sound of Clint when Clint does something cool. And that flute is such a great sound. It's like the shriek of a bird of prey. So the two of them complementing each other in that main theme, the jaw harp and the flutes, as the music builds and builds. My God, I wish I could write something as good as that. If you like Western soundtracks and you like sequels, you should check out my second album. That's right, I made a whole soundtrack to an imagined Western. I called it All the Gold in the West, inspired very much by movies like For a Few Dollars More, as well as all the classics of the Western genre. The older American classics, the spaghetti westerns, and then beyond to all the westerns coming out from 1940 to right now. I'm obsessed with the West. And this album is a reflection of that love and appreciation of Western music. Please check it out. You'll find it on all the streaming platforms, and Bandcamp is where you want to be because you pay for it then and I get some money. It supports this channel. It means I can make more videos and I can feed my children. Come on. For a Few Dollars More isn't always listed as one of the greatest westerns ever, but it is. And all the more reason why it is so special is because it is a sequel. In lesser hands and some other worse universe, the sequel could have just been a cash grab rip-off of the original. But not this. For a Few Dollars More is better in every single way. The original was great. It was already great, and it was more. It was more of all the good stuff and more of the same, adding layers and depths. And it's just a movie that I could rewatch over and over again. And I do. One of the things that this does so right as a sequel that so many sequels get wrong is that it doesn't toy with, backstories or origins or trying to go more in depth of any of the characters or introducing lore. It is just another scenario with the same character. Some people even debate that, is Clint Eastwood even playing the same character? He is, right? The clothes are the same. It's him. It's the same guy. But it's more scenarios. It's a perfect sequel because it doesn't rely on anyone ever having even seen the original. If you only watch one of the Dollars trilogy, heck, watch For a Few Dollars More. It's great. Why not? I've heard plenty of stories of folks that actually have seen the movies out of sequence. So maybe they've seen For a Few Dollars More first, or The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly first. But they all work as individual movies. That's one of the reasons why it works so well as a sequel. It's got my recommendation. If you've not seen it yet, check it out. And for those of you like me that know it well and love this movie, tell me, where do you think it sits up in the trilogy? Is it better than the original, like I claim it to be? Is it not as good as the defining good, the bad, and the ugly? Or is it maybe even better? Let me know. How does it rank for a few dollars more? Thanks for checking out the video, folks. My name's Rex Hooper. Make sure you hit that like button. Do a solid, don't cost you nothing, and it helps me out. If you're not already a subscriber, then I recommend it. Hell, of course I would. But if you like westerns and western content, then more will come your way if you hit that button. And if you know what's good for you, you'll check out All the Gold in the West, my imaginary soundtrack to a western. Say cowboy, folks, and I'll see you later on down the trail.